Florida. I know you love it, though, Majestic.
Yeah.
You're happy about this?
That's a forecast that I wish I could just push away to the side.
Yeah, if it's sunny with snow and I'm bundled up and feeling comfortable,
Yeah.
That's fine.
it'll be okay. I'll be
It's the
okay.
wind.
It's still not my favorite.
I
but-
took the dog for a walk yesterday. I'm dog sitting Roger, Brittany Van Voorhees' dog. They're both little dogs. They were not.
They were not happy
Even
either.
with their jackets on, the wind just cut right through them. You know.
Yes.
They're
I
standing
guess
there
we should be
shivering.
okay because it didn't rain.
Yes.
So
True.
it's that
Yes.
cold, windy, rainy combo.
True.
Ugh.
Definitely. It always can be worse. But a lot of
can.
people are happy with this weather anyway. So
All right,
we
yeah.
do want to be weather alert still.
Exactly. We were weather alert all throughout the morning show, just preparing people for that bitter cold air. We're getting ready to expire a weather alert because temperatures are starting to rise right around freezing. However, bottom line today, we're just going to struggle to warm in general. So we saw those temperatures drop below freezing around 8 o'clock last night, and we've been below freezing since then. Again, like I just mentioned, we're starting to see temperatures warm just a little bit, but that's 10 to 12 hours where we've been stuck below freezing. So that's why we did issue this weather alert day, and it's our first hard freeze of the season. So hopefully you've been staying close to our weather team, protecting any of your outdoor plants or vegetation, bringing them inside or covering them up, because this is some brutally cold air. Yes, if you're spending any time outside today, you'll still want to grab a big heavy coat. I'm talking about potentially your winter coat, maybe some hats and gloves, because it's the wind that'll be still out there even into the afternoon. So even though our air temperatures will start to rise, our wind chill values are going to be even colder than our actual temperature. Right now, though, we are starting to see those temperatures warm. We're at 34 degrees in Charlotte now, which is much warmer than this morning, where we actually had air temperatures in the mid to upper 20s. In the mountains, I've had my eyes on you all morning long because it has been very cold, but also very beautiful with that snow blanketing the ground. The wind still moving in from the northwest. Remember that strong Arctic cold front pulling in that cold northerly air. We're feeling that this morning, but it's also still picking up those winds, mainly for the higher elevations. Earlier this morning around Jefferson, I saw some of those winds gusting 40 to 45 miles an hour with temperatures below freezing. I mean, that's miserable for anyone who has to be outside, and not to mention if you have any outdoor pets. When we're dealing with such cold elements, really make sure you're taking care of them. I say bring them inside, but at least make sure they have really, really good shelter. It still feels like you're into the single digits in the mountains, and that's going to be the case for us through much of the day. Single digits in the mountains, teens as well, and then for the rest of us, it's going to feel like we're mainly into the 20s and even some teens as well. So let's walk you through our futurecast. Here's about 9 o'clock this morning, what it's feeling like right now. Bitter cold for our mountain friends as we're heading into that 11 o'clock time hour, 11 o'clock time frame right before lunchtime. 20s and low 30s is what it will feel like for us. And even into that 3 o'clock hour, I mean, it's going to feel like we're into the 30s for most of the day. So even though our temperatures are warming up, it's just going to feel rather cold. Now, the silver lining is it's beautiful today. We have a whole lot of sunshine. It's kind of deceiving, though, because the moment you step outside, that cold air, it just wakes you right up this morning. Mid to upper 40s for our highs. Now, I want to take you up into the mountains. 32 for your high in Banner Elk, 35 in Blowing Rock and Boone. A little warmer as you're heading towards the foothills with plenty of sunshine. Much of the same right here in the Queen City, 48 degrees for us today, and then about 49 for Lancaster. So nearing 50 degrees, but I don't think we actually reach 50 degrees. And then I wanted to show you a couple of our live cameras because there's a blanket of snow on the ground in the mountains. This one's coming in from Beach Mountain. Now the ski resorts, this is natural snow, but also they've been using their snow machines, taking advantage of that cold air to really get things going. This here is in Boone, App State, where it's just really pretty. You have some sunshine out there, you have some snow on the ground. Most of the snow is on the grassy surfaces, so maybe there could be a few slick and icy spots, but we're not seeing anything like a sheet of ice. As we're looking at our satellite and radar, most of the snow still off to the north and to the west of us. We even had a few snow flurries right around Charlotte last night. Snow flurries even making it all the way to the beach. reports of that at Myrtle Beach. Now, we've only received about a trace, but the last time we had November snow, it was in 2018, so it was a nice little surprise yesterday. And then the snow that we had yesterday actually tied with the 5th earliest snowfall on record since 1991. Futurecast still showing quiet conditions. We'll have a lot of sunshine, but there are some changes on the way. Remember, the wind is moving in from the northwest, pulling in very cold temperatures, very cold and dry air. But then as soon as tomorrow, the wind starts to move in from the southwest, and that's always helpful if you're looking for warmer weather, going from 48 degrees today for our high to 65 tomorrow. Our average high this time of the year, it's 64 degrees, so we're well below that today. We'll be right around that tomorrow, and then Thursday nearing 70 degrees. And if you're looking for those 70-degree temperatures, look at the 7-day forecast. We have multiple on the way. Of course, today is Veterans Day, 48 degrees for our high. It's going to be sunny and nice, though, for anyone who is home from work today or home from school. And I want to say good morning to all the vets who are watching this morning. Thank you so much for your service. Sending you a whole lot of sunshine. Can't help you much with those temperatures, though. However, towards the end of our work week into the weekend, good timing. We're looking at the return of 70s, almost 80 degrees by Sunday. So kind of just a whole lot going on with our weather forecast, but it was kind of fun to see all of the live cameras with all the snow, viewers sending in snow pictures as well. So keep those things coming if you do have them. I do want to just end on this. This is our last live camera coming in from Blowing Rock. We've actually seen some snow plows out there this morning, and some snow has accumulated there. But where I'm from, in Washington State, we would call a day like this a bluebird day because you have a blanket of snow on the ground and then a perfectly blue sky the next day.
Oh,
and so
nice.
that's the mountain forecast, which I wish I was actually there. I just wish it was a little less windy.
Yeah, can't have it all. But you know what? Could be worse. Look at this.
Yeah, that's Buffalo.
Oh my God. Look at that.
Buffalo.
Yeah.
Whew, that's
Our
cold.
friends up in Buffalo. Sorry,
Carlene,
guys.
you lived in Buffalo.
I did my time.
We have a lot
I did
of
my 3 years.
Were
Bill's
you
Mafia
miserable?
here.
Miserable.
Oh no.
Majestic, when I say fish out of water, that doesn't even cover it. I had no business being up there.
No.
I really didn't.
What is
Right.
the most amount of snow that you saw like in one day? Like you went to bed and then you woke up and there was like several feet,
Covered.
would you say?
Yeah. I mean,
Okay.
I would say feet, but I mean, yeah, probably around like close to maybe 2 feet ish.
Okay, yeah.
I mean, I remember like just it over my head.
Just
I didn't have a snow brush. I didn't have any of that when like moving up there. I had to buy
No.
all that up there because you're not gonna get that in Charleston. Where are you gonna get a snow brush in Charleston?
Exactly.
Yeah.
So
Yeah.
I didn't have a real coat.
A
I didn't
real
get one when I
coat.
got up there, like a big,
Like
Like
a
a
little
big
denim.
puffy
You just had a
warm
denim
one.
jacket or
Right,
something.
you just had,
Yeah, she was being fashionable with her light
you
little
know, The
jackets.
stores down where I was from like didn't have any of that stuff. So I moved
Yeah.
up there. I was like, oh, I'll just get it when I'm up there. And I needed it before because I
Right.
was snowing
Gets
when I moved up
cold
there. I was
soon.
terrified.
Bitter.
I made it.
You made it.
Yes.
You came out
I came
alive. You
out.
survived.
Yep. But I moved right back down.
And now you're
I
you're a big Bills fan.
I am. I didn't fall in love with Bills Mafia, but
know, for better or worse.
The weather sucked, but the
Yeah.
tailgates were fun. So,
There you go.
You know,
You had to find
you've
the
got
silver
that.
lining.
You've got that.
Yeah.
So we have a lot of New Yorkers, a lot of folks
Lot of
from
people from Buffalo.
upstate
Oh yeah.
here now in the
Lot of-
Carolinas,
lot of
calling in
Bills here.
home and very happy
Yeah.
for it. So at least that. And we'll get back to more temperate.
I mean, 65s
weather.
tomorrow,
I'll
70s
take-
by the weekend.
We're
I'll take
okay.
it. I'll take
We'll
it.
be all right.
We'll make it.
All right, majestic storm here, missing the snow,
Yes, I am.
sans the wind. All right.
Thank you
for
guys.
coming in.
Of course,
Thank
anytime.
you.
All right, and we will be right back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. 2-minute break coming up. Good morning, everyone. Back here at 9:12. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. I'm Jane Monreal. So the longest government shutdown in American history appears that it is inching closer to the end. The Senate passing the deal last night, and now it goes back to the House, which could vote on it as early as tomorrow. Alice Barr from NBC News has the latest from Washington.
In a major step toward reopening the government, the Senate overnight giving its final approval to a bill that funds the government through the end of January.
The bill as amended is passed.
It now heads to the House, where members in recess since late September are racing back to Washington.
I got a consensus among the members, and that is what we will do.
House Republicans can only afford to lose 2 votes, with Democrats opposed.
We're going to fight hard to defeat it.
The party divided over the move by 8 Senate Democrats who broke ranks to vote with Republicans to end the shutdown, despite no promises on the central sticking point, extending Affordable Care Act subsidies.
I think it was a terrible, terrible vote at a time when we have a broken healthcare system.
Senate leadership did agree to a vote before the subsidies expire at the end of the year, sending healthcare costs soaring.
We crystallized the fight about health care for the American people and made it clear who's holding that up. It's President Donald Trump, it's Speaker Johnson, and it's the Republicans.
Others arguing Democrats were winning the messaging fight on health care and affordability.
You saw the polling was going our way, and we could have, in my opinion, continued talking about that and potentially had a better outcome.
Republicans saying they want a health care fix too. President Trump again floating sending Americans direct payments paid for through tariff revenue.
We want a health care system where we pay the money to the people instead of the insurance companies.
Administration officials have couched that idea as informal brainstorming. In Washington, Alice Barr, NBC News.
And here in North Carolina, state leaders are reacting to the Senate deal. Our Destiny Richards has that angle now here on WCNC Plus.
Since this vote took place, some praise and others calling this deal a mistake. Now, from both sides of the aisle, we are seeing very different responses. Republican Congresswoman Virginia Foxx, who chairs the House Rules Committee, says she's in alignment with House Speaker Mike Johnson as Republicans decide their next steps. On the other side, Democratic Congresswoman Deborah Ross called the plan a bad deal for North Carolina, saying it fails to protect families facing rising health care costs. And former Governor Roy Cooper, who's running to replace Republican Tom Tillis in the U.S. Senate, said any deal that allows health care costs to skyrocket is unacceptable. Other North Carolina Republicans, including Mark Harris and Greg Murphy, are blaming Democrats for the stalemate, calling the shutdown political theater, while moderate Democrats like Don Davis say they just want to end the shutdown responsibly and get help to families who need it. So while it seems the government shutdown is possibly nearing its end, there still exists that political divide over who is to blame and what happens next. I'll send it back to you guys.
And that was our Destiny Richards covering the state level angle for the story of the shutdown. And we will have more reaction and insight to the federal government shutdown as it winds down with an assistant professor of political science coming up from Queen's University. I'm talking to her at the top of the hour at 10 o'clock this morning here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Of course, today, November 11th, on this Tuesday morning, it is Veterans Day, and we thank all our veterans who have served in all of our branches to fight for our freedom and keep our freedom. I had the pleasure to go to Salisbury a couple of weeks ago, where they have a strong veterans community, and was able to speak to a young man who's about to turn 103 years old. This is our interview. It is raw, so you'll get all the little nuances of our conversation here, and it was just a pleasure to talk to him here on WCNC Plus.
Happy
happy early birthday.
Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
How do you think you're going to celebrate 103? 103, right?
103.
103. What's the secret? Is there a secret to life?
Oh, good living.
Good living?
Good living. One thing, I guess, I don't know. Of course, my grandparents and all lived long lives, and that's I say my genes.
Your genes
is one thing.
Yeah.
That's helped me to live this long, and I have lived a long, full life.
Yeah.
I've just had a full life.
You have witnessed generations and history.
Yeah. Right.
And, all the wars, right? What do you take away from your service as a?
What do I what?
What is your experience and takeaway from serving in the Army?
Well, I was drafted in the Army at 18 years old, and I served as a tank battalion I was a gunner on a tank in the tank battalion. And we trained at Fort Lewis for a solid year and then went to England.
Oh, wow.
We were there waiting for D-Day.
You were waiting?
Yes, we were there waiting for D-Day, and we had to wait 6 days after D-Day to take tanks across, you know. And we started out in France at the first little town about 5-6 miles back from the beach. It was our first engagement with the Germans, and we fought all the way through Normandy over there.
Wow.
Yeah, as a tank battalion.
Do you remember it? It seems like you remember things so clearly, right?
Yeah.
You have such good memories of that time. Clear memories.
Well, it's so much that I have forgot, really, and that I would like to think about telling about it, but I really forgot it, part of it, and then the part that I remember, I like to talk about it and go ahead and tell it.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, this is how we learn.
Yeah.
From you who've lived it and been through it.
Yeah.
What would you like to know? What would you like us to know? What would you like us to learn from your experience?
I know I was, like I say, I was drafted at 18 years old, and I didn't have much of an education. I quit school. I didn't finish high school. I quit school, and I went in the Army, and I got my education while I was in the Army.
Oh, good for you.
I sure did.
Yeah, yeah.
And I just, I like for public to know that I think all young people, if they are interested, they should serve a hitch in the Army.
Okay.
Yes.
All right.
That would help them. A lot of these young boys, especially, you know, that gets into trouble around here now, a whole lot of them should be in the Army. They should just draft. I mean, you know, they could join the Army now themselves.
Yeah, yeah.
And that would be a good place for their education.
What are you proud of serving under General Patton in the 3rd Army? What are you most proud of?
Most what?
Proud of serving in the Army.
Well, yes, okay. Well, like I say, I was drafted at 18, and I had a brother 5 years older than me that was already in the Army, and he was at a place in down south somewhere, already in the Army, and I went to visit him a time or two, and he told me he volunteered. And he told me not to volunteer. Said the Army might be, the war might be over time they would draft you.
Yeah.
But that wouldn't happen. I was just 5 years younger than my brother, and I was glad to. Really, I was glad in a way to go in the Army when I did.
Good.
Yeah, I did after my brother was already in there, and I found out different things from him, and I was ready.
Yeah.
And it didn't bother me that much by being drafted and served.
No regrets.
No, that's right.
How are you going to celebrate your birthday?
How am I going to?
Celebrate, yeah.
Oh, well, my birthday's coming up, November the 19th.
Yep.
And I've already found out that I'm going to be Grand Marshal in the Veterans Parade.
Wonderful. That's great.
Yeah, and that's one thing I'm going to be doing for my birthday. And that'll be, I'll be celebrating, I don't know how long.
Oh, that's awesome. Mr. Deal, pleasure. It's been a privilege talking to you.
Thank you.
Thank you for your service and everything you've done.
Yes. And I'd like to say that you are a nice, pretty, good-looking woman.
Sir. Thank you, sir. I appreciate
Good to talk with you.
Nice to talk to you.
Yeah.
Is he the sweetest or what? Oh
I love how you asked him. You're like, "What's the secret to life?" He's like, "I don't know."
I don't know.
I'm like, "You're doing something right,
Lived a
sir."
good life, though. He did, and again, Grand Marshal and in the parade today. So what a gift to have him there in Salisbury and have that awesome conversation. Greatest generation. Yeah. Let's take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. We thank you, veterans. Back here at 9:27, I'm Jane Monreal. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus on this Veterans Day, where a lot of school districts have the day off. Hopefully you are able to take a moment and celebrate and thank a veteran who served. All right, today we are talking about I-77, and there are plans to expand it. The price of growth, we need it. But while I-77 is going to be expanded between Uptown and the state line, that is going to put some extra pressure. There are going to be toll lanes, and you know what construction means, extra traffic there on I-77 for your commute. So our Ben Thompson and Lisa Washington spoke to Jen Goodwin of the NCDOT about what this means, what we can expect, all what's on the table. They spoke earlier on the stream here on the Plus at 8:30. Let's run this interview for you now in its entirety on WCNC Plus.
Tomorrow, you will have the chance to weigh in on a major project that will impact almost every single one of us. NCDOT plans to expand I-77 again, while also adding toll lanes from Uptown all the way to the state line.
It's going to have a major impact on your commute, and it could drastically change neighborhoods along the interstate as well. Joining us this morning to explain what's on the table, Jen Goodwin from the Department of Transportation. Jen, thanks as always. Good to speak to you.
Good to see you guys. Thanks for having me.
Of course. So the DOT holding two public meetings, one tomorrow, one Thursday. I'm going to go over those details coming up in just a minute if people want to go and attend. What are you hoping? What is the DOT hoping comes from these meetings?
So these are very important meetings, like you mentioned. This project is a long time in the making, and I want to give you guys a little background to help your viewers understand how we got to this point. It goes back to 2007 to a study that was done called the Fast Lane Study. It was a partnership with NCDOT, South Carolina DOT, the City of Charlotte, looking at corridors around the Charlotte region to see which ones might benefit most from implementing express lanes, and the I-77 corridor was identified as one of those arterials that would benefit from implementing express lanes. And by law in North Carolina, only local planning organizations can approve toll projects. So that comes in our area from the Charlotte Regional Transportation Planning Organization. So in 2014, that organization submitted a project for prioritization to include toll lanes on I-77. And so now that is in our NCDOT's 10-year capital plan, our 2026 to 2035 STIP. And so we're looking at adding two express lanes in each direction along 11 miles of I-77, basically from where it ties into the existing express lanes near the Brookshire Freeway, going down to the South Carolina line, and it's going to touch every interchange along I-77 in that area. It's the most expensive project we've ever embarked on in state history, over $3.2 billion, and it's going to be very challenging for us because it's in a very densely populated area. There are a lot of environmental challenges, and of course the challenges of minimizing impacts as much as we can to any communities, and that's why public engagement and public input is top of mind for us. We have gone out to communities early. We've held a lot of small group meetings with a lot of communities that are right along this corridor. We started having small group meetings back in January. We've had 25 of them, and we have reached over 800 residents in those communities. And we are continuing our public engagement process of the project right now by having these public meetings this week. And we want to see more neighbors turn out and share their thoughts with us.
Jim, we certainly appreciate you giving us the backstory and the history there to help our viewers understand some more. I think you used the word challenging 2 or 3 times because this is a challenging task for sure. You've got to address the growth that's happening in the area. You have the commutes that are just far too long for so many people. There's also the dislike of their toll lanes. There are people who just don't like the toll lanes. And as you said, a very thin strip of land to expand 77. So how do you juggle those priorities?
So one thing I want to mention too is the importance of addressing the congestion, because this section of I-77 has not been widened since the 1990s. And as you know, the growth of Charlotte has just continued. And so we cannot do nothing. Safety is our first priority. So doing nothing is not an option for the department. And the crash rates on this stretch of I-77 are 2.5 times the statewide average. So that is, again, very something we don't want to see continue. And we want to ease the congestion. We want to help alleviate it. And we want those crash rates to come down. So we need to address those issues. More than 160,000 cars use this section of I-77 on a daily basis. That's only going to continue to grow as we expect to see probably more than 4 million people in this area by the year 2050. And so we have to do something. We also have, of course, the challenge of so much development on both sides of the interstate, so we have to take that into consideration. We have to consider impacts to the environment with a lot of water resources nearby. We have a lot of historic landmarks. We have cemeteries. We have parks and greenways. It's a densely populated area. So all of these factors make it challenging. And then again, the cost itself, $3.2 billion, is making it difficult. But the one thing, too, that's very important that we have on our side, too, is the involvement of the CRTPO. They have been a very valuable partner because they want to be very transparent and want to help with lessons learned from the I-77 North project. So they formed a working group, volunteers from the CRTPO board, to come alongside to work with NCDOT and to identify very important low and high impact financial terms to help develop those things that are important to them in seeing a contract. And one of those is making sure that the tolls are going to be affordable, because that's important to make sure that people are going to use them. And we want to be able to provide a reliable travel time for drivers and make sure it's something
just
that
interrupt
they can use.
just real quickly, because
Yes.
I want to get to everybody, including I want to talk about the northern toll lanes, because if you've been here any longer than 5 to 10 years, you know them. But I want to show, and I interrupt because I feel like I have to walk people through this. One of the maps of the project, and when we put this up, it's sort of sensory overload, because you're like, wow, what am I looking at right now? To give you some idea, there in your center of the screen, that's the football field for JCSU. So off to the right would be the interchange for Brookshire and 77. Then you had got the 5th Street interchange and Trade Street, I believe. The northern part of that right there, you've got a number of neighborhoods. You've got Wesley Heights, you've got McCrory Heights, you've got Oaklawn Park. That's what people are looking at right now. As you know, these are historically black neighborhoods, and they've been through this before. Over the decades, interstate expansion has divided and taken away homes. Understanding that this is necessary and that growth is necessary, how is the DOT planning to address the legitimate concerns of some of these neighbors?
And that's where we are right now, Ben, with having those community meetings. And we have met with neighbors in those communities, and we have had face-to-face conversations with them and hearing those concerns they have. And those are concerns that we are taking seriously and trying to address as we are moving through the design process. It's important to, those maps that you're looking at are preliminary. They are not final designs, and we are still in that preliminary phase of the design process of this project. We're years from construction. We're years away from moving any earth or anything like that. So we're going to have opportunities for more engagement beyond these public meetings this week. So this is not a one and done. We're going to have more chances to have more meetings with these communities and to have more opportunities to talk with them and to hear what they have to say. And that's why we want people to come to these meetings. We want them to be a part of the process. We want them to talk to our project team, because they're right there on the ground, and they see things that maybe we don't see, or know things that maybe we don't know, that are going to help us as we move along through the development of this project. And so whether it's an email, a phone call, whether it's even a handwritten letter, all of the comments carry equal weight as we continue to move through the process, and we want them to come alongside us, to collaborate with us, to help us create a project that's going to work for everyone.
Because these are the people who live there. We do have another graphic. We know that one option, Jen, is an elevated toll lane. Of course, that keeps a smaller footprint, a smaller impact on communities. Is that something that might also be considered? We're showing that graphic now. I'm not sure if you were able to see it, but that would, again, a smaller footprint.
I do see it. Yes, that is an alternative that is being considered. And again, like I was just saying, it's not final, but it is one that is under consideration. So we're not at a point yet where we've made a final decision. So we encourage people to just provide their feedback. Let us know what's on their mind. Let us know their thoughts.
Okay, now let's go back to I-77 express lanes north of town, because it does strike me there's so many folks who move here move here every single day, and they drive that right now and they enjoy it and they think not a thing about it.
Right.
But as you know, they were the hot topic for years on end, 8 or 10 years ago. I don't need to remind you of that. What are some lessons taken from that situation that the DOT is now using to approach this project differently?
So that was the first public-private partnership the state ever took on. I think the market has changed, the industry has changed now that we're a decade removed from it. There are more companies that do this type of work, and we have had a lot more engagement with the CRTPO on this project, several years worth of meetings and update meetings, and we've asked the CRTPO to kind of tell us what's important to you, and they've done that. But I want to remind your viewers too that this is something that the CRTPO has requested, that they've requested this project. This is not something that the DOT has pulled out. So, we're delivering this at their request. So when they have asked for information, we've provided it at their request. But one thing too is they've been very vocal about they want to have this working group. They want to create these terms, low and high financial key terms that are important to help drivers get more out of this. And also, we've had a lot more interest from the industry this time around too. We had an industry forum in Raleigh back in September. I think we had almost 270 attendees, and we've also had some meetings with some industry representatives. So there's probably going to be a lot more competition this time around when we get to the point where we can start accepting bids, which is probably going to be still some time in the future. But we're probably going to see some pretty robust competition for this project because there's a lot of interest.
There's a lot of stakeholders
yes.
in a situation like this. You've got the commuters, you've got neighbors, you've got the city, you've got the state. So many people, and it's important we get this right for the future of our city. And part of that is making sure folks weigh in. So
yes, definitely.
Keep that in mind.
Yes.
Jen, thank you so much for taking time explaining this for all of us. We do appreciate it.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to talk Panthers and their loss over the weekend in just 2 minutes. We'll be right back. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Time right now is 9:42. I'm Jane Monreal. We thank you for watching here 9 to 11 on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. So our sports director, Nick Carboni, is back after his parental leave. Congratulations, Nick, on his baby girl. And he was here just in time to talk about the loss. A disappointing one at that.
Yeah, it's a
at
tough
home,
one to come back
Carlene.
to. Who is not
to
pretty
the Saints, who are not
great.
Good.
Not great.
Not
I
good
think New
this
Orleans
year.
fans could even agree. They're not
great. So anyway,
tough day for Carolina.
Yeah, heads up, chins up, everyone. So our Nick Carboni with a special guest talking about the loss over the weekend. This is from last night's Panthers on the Plus.
Welcome, everybody, to Panthers on the Plus, our weekly Monday night breakdown of the prior Panthers game and look ahead to next Sunday. And, man, when I booked this guest, I thought we'd be having a whole different conversation than we're about to have. Joining us from Louisiana is none other than Panthers legendary quarterback Jake Delhomme, who was in Charlotte to call the Panthers' brutal loss to the New Orleans Saints, 17-7. Jake, in your view from the booth, and I know you talked about it on the Jordan and Jake podcast. I heard you with Kyle Bailey telling everybody, look, the Saints aren't that bad. From your view of in the booth, how did you process yesterday's Panthers loss?
Well, I did so many interviews last week, and that's just because of, okay, I live here in Louisiana and the Saints and all that. So I did like 3 or 4 back here, and then I did a few in Charlotte. But the general theme was, listen, once we get past the Saints, and I'm like, are y'all not watching film? Like, I couldn't believe the questions I was getting asked in regards to like it was an afterthought. One is a division game. And 2, if you watch the film of the Saints, that's not that bad of a football team. They should have beaten Arizona week 1. They dropped a touchdown pass late in the game. Against Tampa, they had every opportunity to win the game. And then against the Rams, you're looking at one of the best teams in the NFL who just got after them. I mean, the Rams got after them. But this Saints football team has been in pretty much every football game. They gave New England some trouble. They gave Buffalo some trouble. And just, I don't know, it just seemed like it was an afterthought. And then when I watched this play yesterday, we just looked like a team that was never in sync, really and truly in any phase. Maybe not, punt return and punt team and kickoff return and things of that nature, but everything else looked like we were a team we weren't together. It was like there was a hangover from the week prior up in Green Bay. And so that's kind of what it was. And trying to rewatch the film today, I tip my hat to the Saints defense, to be very honest. That front 7, they did a great job against our offensive line. I thought Demario Davis was fabulous at linebacker. I mean, there's a reason he's 36 years old and still at the top of his game, a 5-time All-Pro. He just, the way they filled gaps, they ran downhill, they were making every point to stop that run game because we struggled in the pass game yesterday. For whatever reason, we just never had any cohesion in the pass game.
Yeah, the fan base, Jake, and probably the media was feeling itself a little bit after that win at Lambeau, like you mentioned. And some interesting comments coming out of the locker room last night. Ike Ekwonu, talking about, hey, they had a couple of bad practices during the week, and that showed up. Rookie Nick Scorton today was saying things seemed lackadaisical the morning of the game. It's gotten to the point where Canales is being asked about it. But I just did you see any signs of maybe overlooking the Saints at all on the field?
You know what? I can't see. Well, listen, we didn't play well. So, I mean, that's where you're going to say, so we weren't ready. But, I mean, I just don't see that. I've seen this team, for whatever reason, the New England game, the Buffalo game, we didn't play good football. I go back to Jacksonville and Arizona. I think we were more turnover-driven earlier in those football games where we became one-dimensional and the game was out of reach. But it wasn't our best day, and I think it gets magnified because it was a one-win football team. But they got a shot in the arm with the young kid playing quarterback for them. He made some good plays yesterday, and we had opportunities. J.C. Horn will be the first to tell you he fell down on a couple of touchdown passes, and the one on the sideline when he fell down on Olave, he has him covered. It was a stutter go. He's in phase with him. It seems very similar to the interception he had at the Jets game, where he just stayed on the inside. Well, he fell, and I know J.C. wanted a flag on the play or push off, but and he addressed it after the game. Defense did fine, except me. I need to step up my game. I didn't play well yesterday, and I give him credit for doing that. It's just that was very unlike him. And on the offensive side of the ball, they made a full commitment. Like they were going to stop the run. But the strong point of that Saints football team is the front seven. They rotate some defensive linemen. They're big. They're strong defensive linemen, some big guys. Their linebackers play downhill. Their safeties got involved in the run game. Alontae Taylor has always given us fits when he plays in, especially when he goes inside at nickel. He's given us fits. He's a great blitzer. And we were not sharp yesterday. It was a combination of things that led for a lackluster performance by this football team. But we've shown we've been able to answer, right? And what better way to answer to get on the road, to go play an Atlanta team who we completely embarrassed when we played them last month, 30-0. So they're coming back. They had a rough game. Had to play 5 quarters yesterday up in Berlin, I believe, is where they played. And against a tough, physical Colts team who ran the ball right down their throat. So hopefully they're going to address some of that, and hopefully we can get back to running the football, and our passing game can kind of get caught up a little bit next week.
I do want to talk about that Atlanta game in a bit, especially Bryce Young's performance in that building last year, what he can take from it. But you know, when a team, a young team, year 2 under Coach Canales, has a letdown like they did yesterday, is that kind of a part of the process of growing pains? And what helps a team, in your experience, turn that corner to where that kind of performance doesn't happen in that moment?
Listen, it's to get back on the field and do it. I mean, that's the biggest thing. I know the Green Bay game, I was pretty much like everyone else, unbelievably fired up to go on the road in that environment against a very good football team and beat them. And I was thinking back to last year when we had to go to Philadelphia and we had an opportunity to beat Philly late in that game, and we just couldn't close the door, but we did it last week. And so my mind was like, okay, are we there yet? Are we starting to get that turning that corner? Because we're still a team, we're still in the growth phase. Listen, I love where we're at. I love we have 5 wins. I love that we're 5-5, but we're still in the growth phase of building this, in my opinion. I don't want to, throw the pom-poms on the ground just yet. I liked where we're going, but we were a 5-win team last year. We were 2 wins the year before. This is a slow process with 12 rookies on the roster. I'm not trying to make excuses. I'm just stating the facts. We're not there yet, but I think we're growing. And yesterday was a setback, but how do we respond to it? That's what it comes down to. 17 weeks, you're going to have some plunkers. There's going to be days where you just don't play well, and that was one yesterday. And we just have to accept it. You have to learn from it and grow. And if the players are talking about they weren't sharp at practice, well, what did we do different? Why weren't we sharp at practice? Did we not hone in enough? Are we thinking we've arrived? I can't answer that because I just don't know, because I'm not on the field or in the meetings and things like that. But you just got to address it as a team. The leaders have to step up and go forward.
Of course, we'll talk about the pass game in the next segment, but I want to get to the run game and run, Rico, run, and that whole ride came to a screeching halt at least for 1 week. When a team like the Saints kind of gets a blueprint, as everybody wants to talk about, against something you do really well, how do you go back the next week and correct, in this case, the run game, and when teams know how it's been stopped the week before?
Yeah, I'm not necessarily sure that it was a true blueprint. I think they had some good players, and I think they won some of the matchups up front yesterday. And their linebackers, they hit gaps. They were selling out to stop the run. And I'm not saying we won't see that this week in Atlanta. I just don't think they have the dudes up front as the Saints do. I mean, that was evident when you watch film. The Saints defense, that was a strong point. That they were good against. To me, watching, they're good against the run. They're stout, and they played well. So, listen. We run the ball right down Miami's throat. They struggle against the run. We ran it right down Dallas. That's a defense that's struggling mightily. We struggled running it somewhat against the Jets. We get the lead against the Jets, and we just kind of played, keep away in that regard. And then we didn't play well at all against Buffalo. And then you go to Green Bay, and we did a great job of playing the win. I don't think Green Bay was at their best. I think it's just one of those games. I think I'm anxious to watch Green Bay play tonight to see, if they flushed what happened happened last week. We caused them not to play well, and they seemed very frustrated. And I think the Saints did that to us yesterday, and they got momentum. And give credit to the young quarterback. He made some plays. We had opportunities to sack him. He fought through that. He extended plays. He didn't play like a true rookie. And the Taysom Hill effect. Taysom Hill has always given us fits. And when you have that, when Taysom lines up as a quarterback, it's 11 on 11 now, right? It's not that you're not minus a player being the quarterback's not involved in the run game. Now he's the run game. So they did a good job. I tip my hat to the Saints. They came ready to play, and they executed more than we did. Because I really and truly, the more you think about it, like it was so frustrating because we didn't play well at all, but we had every chance. We were there still in that football game. So the growth is still coming. It's just it was one of those days yesterday.
All right, more with Jake Delhomme on the Panthers' loss to the Saints, looking ahead to Atlanta, and we're talking pass game and Bryce Young coming up. Welcome back to Panthers on the Plus, talking the Panthers' brutal 17-7 loss to the New Orleans Saints with none other than former Panthers quarterback Jake Delhomme from Louisiana, back home after that one. Jake, we got to talk about the passing game because it just seemed like once the Panthers couldn't get it going in the run game for the first time in a while, they just didn't have an answer through the air. From your perspective as the former quarterback of this team and your perspective from above the field in the booth, what do you think was going wrong there, and why do you think there weren't as many shots as a lot of people would have liked to see?
I think one thing, I thought they did a good job of kind of sending pressure on us, and I think we had some miscommunication up front. I think Cam Jordan had one sack, whereas Icky passed him off to go block, I believe it was Alontae Taylor, and him and Rico, there was a miscommunication. So I think some had to do with some communication issues, but I just think the Saints did a good job of getting pressure and having Bryce get out the pocket or not get out the pocket and getting a sack on him. And it just, there was never any rhythm in the passing game. I thought we were close on a couple of passes down the left sideline. I thought we tried to throw a back shoulder to T-Mac. Looked like he fought through it, but just couldn't get it. And then after there was no rhythm offensively. It's like we never got in a rhythm because besides the opening drive, and I think we were lucky because we had a face mask call on Bryce that extended the drive on an interception, that there was never rhythm on offense. Nothing ever seemed to come easy, and it just seemed like it was just off. For whatever reason, It was just off. The one time Bryce stepped up in the pocket down the left sideline, throwing to Xavier Legette, I don't know if he lost it, couldn't see it, if it was too far out of bounds. It's just one of those from looking at it, it's like, okay, was that an opportunity? And you see another angle, and I don't know if he just didn't pick it up, didn't see it. I can look for every excuse in the book. I just think you got to give the Saints credit. I think they had a really good plan against us, especially up front. And I think they got physical with us up front and caused some problems, and nothing was ever smooth.
When you look at Bryce Young's weapons that are available in the pass game, it is almost exclusively first or second year players, Jake. I mean, how much of that you think is kind of bearing itself out and still being worked through on the field?
No, we're a work in progress. That's still, you can still see that. Listen, T-Mac, we've seen him catch the ball. We've seen him play. This kid's going to be a good player. I mean, he's already shown some flashes. But the young guy, I think the same thing with Legette. I don't know if we've truly found that role for him yet. We've seen, like, I watched him against the Jets. I believe he had 8 or 9 catches for 92 yards or 94 yards. You saw some flashes there. Jalen Coker, we were excited to get him back. And I don't know if it's been talked about much, but on the touchdown run by Rico, he gets blocked into. He's blocking his guy into the end zone, and he gets kind of bumped in the leg, and he was gimpy. It took him a while to get off the field, and you watched him on the sideline. I'm constantly watching those guys, and it's like he was constantly working through that all game long. So I don't know if that something was kind of bothering him. You saw Mitchell Evans walk off the field and come back, look like an ankle was taped a little more heavily. And I don't think we've seen JT Sanders. I kind of thought I'd have seen more from him so far this year. He dropped some weight. I know he looked good in camp, but we just haven't seen that yet. He had the high ankle. So I just think we're still we trade away Adam Thielen because we have a bunch of younger guys that it looks like they're going to step up, where Adam was that security blanket for Bryce last year. Last 2 years, third down, fourth down, those big plays. Now we're starting to get Jimmy Horn in to get that speed element, but we tried to get him involved yesterday. It was unfortunate on the handoff between he and Bryce on the speed sweep, which I think would have been a positive play for us, and we could have gotten points on that drive. So it's just something that, listen, it's still a work in progress, and I don't know if we truly know, besides the run game and how we want to run the football, what are we yet in the passing game. Arizona, we threw for a bunch of yards, but we were so far behind, and that's more catch-up mode. And then a couple of the other games, I think we threw against like Dallas and Miami or whatever it was, maybe Atlanta. I'm getting my games mixed up. 199 yards, 198 yards, but we ran the ball so well in those games. Is that once you get that lead and things like that start to happen, let's control the clock. Let's do what we have to do to come out with a win.
If I don't envy Dan Morgan in a lot of ways, but man, it would be so hard for me to evaluate Bryce Young when you're talking about like big picture, because sometimes he just looks like he did at the end of last season, like he does at the end of games where he's so good in those moments, and sometimes he still has a bad day like he did yesterday, a bad interception. I don't know what your view of it was, but what have you seen from Bryce Young so far in his third season? What do you want to see going forward through his last 7 games?
Yeah, I'd like to see the last 5-6 weeks of the season, what I saw in 24 when we played the Chiefs, when we played Philadelphia, when we played in Atlanta last year. When he's really. But remember, Thiel's making some plays, right? Yep. David Moore, veteran player, made a bunch of plays last year. That comfort level. So I think it's still a work in progress. Or the receivers taking the right angles? Does Bryce think they're going in a certain direction? So I think that's being worked through. And in a sense, and I don't know this, but in listening to any of Bryce's interviews, he's never going to throw anybody under the bus. Yeah. He's never. It's just like, hey, I got to do better. And he's taking all the blame, and that's why the players love him. But I have a feeling that's still a work in progress of them kind of understanding exactly what we are pass game wise. Yesterday on the pick to Alontae Taylor, he showed like he was going to pressure, and then he backed out. It's called buzz. He buzzed underneath it. I just think Bryce missed it. I just think he underthrew it. He can get it right over his head because the cornerback had fallen way off. I mean, that's buzz coverage. You just got to get it up and over. Sometimes you just don't have one of your better days. I know I lived with many of those in my life. I had a lot of rough Sundays where I didn't have, my best stuff. But it's just some of those things that I've seen him do already. We need to be more consistent in the pass game. Certainly, I'd like to see us take another shot or two. I don't know how that comes about, using Jimmy Horn's speed, because we have more of the bigger type receivers. Jalen Coker is one that I think he can run a little bit, but he was late when he got hurt, so he was on IR, and then he's just starting to come back, and so we didn't see a bunch of him yesterday, but I know what he can do catching the football. So I just think we're a work in progress right now. It's just
we have about 10 minutes left on last night's playback from Panthers on the Plus, and we will put a pause in that as we take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Welcome back to Live Impact News here on WCNC Plus, just after 10 o'clock on this Tuesday morning, Veterans Day. I'm Jane Monreal. So the federal government shutdown, we know, is winding down, and it appears that after several weeks, it appears that it is headed towards a resolution, but not without controversy. The Senate last night, getting caught up here, passed a bipartisan bill that would end the stalemate, and it now heads back to the House with the support from 8 Democrats as well as the president. So they can vote as soon as tomorrow. Helping us sort things out where they stand today is Amy Sentimentes. She's the assistant professor of political science at Queen's University of Charlotte. And Amy, thank you for joining us this morning on Live Impact News.
Thanks so much for having me.
Let's talk about what happened here. How did this government shutdown over primarily healthcare subsidies, right, to a deal that actually does not include them?
Mm-hmm. I think as the shutdown continued, the Democrats who did end up deflecting recalculated their decision because they were thinking about two things. I think the upcoming holiday travel and the expiration of SNAP benefits were weighing heavily on their mind, as well as the realistic possibility that they could actually get what they wanted out of this impasse. I know Senator King from Maine, who's an independent who caucuses with the Democratic Party, talked a lot about how he didn't really envision the Republicans caving at all. And so while polls at the moment still place the blame primarily on the Republican Party, he anticipated that an ongoing shutdown would only make that blame a little bit more evenly split, and so the Democrats may actually suffer consequences if the shutdown continued. However, there have been some, like you said, controversies because the remaining senators who did not deflect viewed this as a real issue with their party because they wanted to stand firm and use this as an opportunity not only to continue these healthcare subsidies, but also to use their power to stand up to President Trump and his administration.
Yeah, after a strong election last week with some of those key elections in the Democratic Party, now we're seeing some significant fractures. What does that say about the Democratic Party's strategy moving forward?
I think this remains to be seen. They did have a strong week last week, but I think it speaks more broadly to the fact that in the United States, we have a really candidate-centered electoral process. And so while these candidates last week were extremely popular, Zohran Mamdani in New York City, Abigail Spanberger in Virginia, and Mikey Sherrill in New Jersey, they all led campaigns catered to the voters in their states or cities respectively, but polls still show that the public feels very negatively toward the Democratic Party as a whole, especially Leader Schumer in the Senate and Hakeem Jeffries in the House. So I think moving forward, the voters now probably will continue that discontent they feel toward the Democratic Party and make it even harder for them to unite based on a common strategy as they approach the vote in the House, and then also going forward how they might respond to this administration when media coverage and voters perceive this as caving to the administration.
Yeah, interesting in putting that way and saying that it's a candidate-centric that made for some strong showings last week. This deal, again, does not extend any of the subsidies to the Affordable Care Act, which means 20 million Americans could see their insurance premiums increase. Help our viewers understand what this means as an everyday impact.
I think as the economy continues to be perceived in a very uncertain light, as costs escalate for groceries and other common goods, voters and individuals in this country are increasingly stressed and are very uncertain about the future. And so with healthcare subsidies increasing, it's only going to add more fuel to that fire, and it's going to cause a lot of stress that has continued since last year in the presidential election. So I think it's really weighing heavily on on the minds of voters. But like I said, with the ongoing shutdown, I think short-term factors really played a role in those 8 senators' votes on Sunday night. So it was a sort of cost-benefit analysis for more in the long-term views on healthcare versus the short-term impact of the airline industry having to respond to the shutdown, and then also the SNAP benefits and other key Democratic policies and those that affect Republican states, really weighing heavily on the short term for these voters.
So the funding would help the government fund the government, I should say, until January 30th. What happens then? What can people expect? Are we just kicking the can down the road?
It certainly seems that way, and I think voters think the same. And so this is not a forever solution that they've proposed. It's more like they're putting it off until after the holiday season, and that might buy them some time on both sides. I think a lot of the coverage now is centered on what this will do in the 2026 midterms. And so again, those senators who did deflect, they anticipate that this will help their party going forward, because now the ball is in the Republicans' court, because they know Obamacare, the Affordable Care Act, is quite popular for these voters. They don't want their subsidies to expire. And so now it's up to the Republicans, and they're hoping that voters will punish them next year in the midterm elections. But as far as in January, I think people see it as just going right back where we started back at the end of September.
Unfortunately so. But like you said, the cost effect equation comes into play as we are feeling it on an everyday basis, right, between holidays and travel and SNAP benefits. All right, so more to come, I'm sure. Dr. Amy Sentimenti is Assistant Professor of Political Science at Queen's University here in Charlotte. Appreciate the time.
Thank you so much. Have a nice day.
Thank you. You too. And back here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus, it is Veterans Day. This is Arlington Cemetery, where there will be a ceremony later on this morning, and the president is expected to do a wreath-laying ceremony. So we will go to that when we see it. Also, Arlington Cemetery, here it is. This will be more of the activities there. You can see some of the pomp and circumstance already getting set up as we salute our veterans of every branch who helped and protect our freedom across the nation. Let's go right now live to, it appears this is Chief Johnny Jennings from CMPD. He is at a forum this morning, speaking at the Sarah Stevenson Forum. Let's listen in live. That is underway now on Live Impact News.
Floyd and the riots and everything started coming, just moving over to Charlotte. And my first thought was, what have I done? what have I gotten into here? And it's funny because as I was being sworn in and becoming the next chief and kind of taking some of those roles over before I was even sworn in, I had a lot of people say, man, you picked the worst time to be the police chief. Mm-hmm. And my response is, no, I think I picked the best time to be the police chief, because I had in my mind the challenges prior to being sworn in of, we've had some great police chiefs, Darrell Stevens, Rodney Monroe, Kurt Putney, and how am I going to follow in that path of some of the work that they've done, and how I'm going to continue that. Well, when all of that started happening with the civil unrest across the country, I realized that, hey, this is a new challenge. This is something different that we have to look at things differently. I can't now look at what the prior chiefs did and try to build on that. I have to wipe the slate clean, and we have to start over. Mm-hmm. And we have to start figuring out, how do we, everything that they have done to build relationships with our community seemed like it was erased and wiped away. And so now it's almost a building that's been torn down, and you have to start from scratch and start that foundation and build it up and build it up and build it up. And that was exciting to me. It was exciting to think that this is on me now, that we can start from scratch and build a brand new house and build it better than even it was before. So we started a lot of work. I literally, that first year, didn't know I was going to make it. I said, I don't know how I could have retired and be sitting at home fishing. Did you know I like to fish, or did you just say that?
I mean,
you got your intel.
You checked the box.
I could be home fishing, or I could be in a smaller city, making more money. But the challenge there for me was that I have a job to do, and I accepted that job, and I wasn't going to lay down and simply throw in the towel because things got tough. And I moved on to every year. I felt like, I don't know if I can do another one. And then the next year would come by, and the next year, but there were challenges every single time. But I realized at some point, those challenges made me stronger. And those challenges made our community stronger. And I tell people now that the critics and the ones who made things difficult were actually the ones who made me stronger and made me a better police chief. And I wouldn't change it, because when you start to build, when they say what doesn't kill you makes you stronger, I think I believe in that more than I ever have. Because what I saw was during the toughest times in our city and during the toughest times in this profession, I saw a group of professionals come together and gel together because we knew we had to do this. And we knew that we were in it when it might have seemed like the whole world was against you. We came together and we continued to make our community safe. We continued to keep crime down and bring it down. Every single year, violent crime went down and continued to go down. And that was a lot of pride on my part, because the work that our men and women in blue did, even while they felt that they weren't supported, which we knew that there were plenty that did support, but when the message out there was that they weren't supported, they continued to work hard and continue to keep our community safe. And that's what made me proud. I tell people all the time that we are the best police department in the country. And that's because I get to go out and see the other agencies. I haven't seen another agency that I said, wow, I'd like to leave Charlotte and go work there. It's just not out there. And it's kind of difficult, because I try to convince my people that, hey, we have a lot of respect across the country. And unless you get out there across the country and see that, it's hard to realize that. But we have so much respect for our police department. We have other agencies that are asking us to come tell them how they do it. Other agencies that are wanting to come to Charlotte and see how we do things. We've had so many visits from agencies around the world. Seems like there's always somebody from another country that's come to Charlotte to see how we do things. So take pride in the police department that you have in our city. I've always said too that we're not perfect. We're going to make mistakes, but judge us more by how we respond to those mistakes and what we do after that. So do I keep talking, or do I have more time, or what?
So you have more time, but if you'd like to go to questions, we can do that.
Well, let me just finish up then. I'll just continue with, so here I am today, having served over 33 and a half years with the city of Charlotte, Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department. I joined as the Charlotte Police Department. I'm the last Charlotte Police Department officer still on the force. And then you had we joined in with the Mecklenburg County Police Department. I see Ricky Robbins sitting over there. He was with Mecklenburg County he wanted so bad to come to Charlotte, so he said, let's just merge. So we ended up merging back in the mid-90s, so now we're Charlotte-Mecklenburg Police Department, but there's only a few of us left. I'm with the city. Ricky's still with us as a hire back. He retired a long time ago. Now he's double dipping, but he's for a little while longer, right? So he's, but anyway, it's just, there's that sense of pride that we have within our police department. So as I get ready to start that next chapter, I feel I'm at so much peace right now that it's even hard to explain. And I told my wife's probably getting sick of me because I wake up in the morning, I'm singing and I'm all happy. And she's still going to work too, and it's like, but I said, if this is how life is supposed to feel, then I'm ready. You know, if this is how you're supposed to feel without the stress, because once you hit a certain level in this agency, I think Richard can tell you, there's so much on your shoulders, so much stress, you never put it down. You never. I could be in another country and I still can't put it down. You devote yourself and your entire life to this job, and you sacrifice so much. You sacrifice things with family, but you know that's what you got into it for. And your family builds that strong foundation for you that they allow you to do that. I can't, my kids and my wife have been fantastic. When the many times that I've missed sporting events, the times that I've had to get up from the dinner table because I had to leave and come into work because something had just happened. The phone calls in the middle of the night over and over again, those are still happening, by the way. So I got a few more weeks of those happening, but it's just one of those things that you know you devote yourself to, and you know what you signed up for. So there's no sense in complaining about it, but you have to move forward and continue to balance that somehow. But when I talk about the peace, that I think sometimes people have told me before that there's so much weight on your shoulders that you don't even realize it. You're just going and going and going. And to be honest with you, there are times you don't even have time to think about what you're going through. You pause and you step back and you realize that, wow, I have to slow down. I have to take some time to myself, and I have to have a life outside of being a police officer. I tell my people all the time, if all you have is being a police officer, all your friends are police officers, when you hang out with police officers, you need to expand that a little bit. You need to do something outside of that, because we see and do things that normal human beings aren't supposed to see and do and be involved in. But when you can't get away from that, if all you're talking about and dealing with is police work and what you did that day, sometimes you got to drop it and set it down. I saw a few weeks ago when we had an officer-involved shooting, and this gentleman had just shot and killed 2 people, and our officers found him. He kidnapped a lady and had her in the vehicle, just to watch, we had much of it on video, to watch our officers in action just reinforced why I do this job. And it reinforced why I've been the chief for 5.5 years. Because the first thing I thought of, and Ricky was with me when we're watching the video, and you see a guy shooting at our officers, hitting our cars, officers jumping back in the car to avoid getting shot. The guy runs, and our officers chase him. And I said, who chases somebody who's shooting at you? And I said, police officers do. Police officers. And to be able to keep the people safe that are around and involved in that, was just heroic to me. And you know, even though I had already announced I'm retiring, I looked at it and I said, that's why I do this. That's why I get up every day. Because we put so much on the line, and I couldn't be more proud of our agency. And that's just one story of many in my 33 and a half years. So it's just been such a great career, but I'm ready. I don't have any regrets. I don't ever look back and say, you're not going to hear me say, I can't wait to get out of here, or I can't wait to be done, or anything like that. What you'll hear me say is, I gave it everything I have. And I know that it's time, and I know that I'm at peace with the decision to move on and start the next chapter, and I'm excited about it. So we have Stella Patterson coming back to Charlotte. Stella was my deputy chief, and I remember she and I were talking about her wanting to put in for the Raleigh Police Department, the Raleigh chief's job, and I encouraged her to do so. And she eventually decided she was going to put in and ended up getting the job. I don't think it was even close, but after she retired from Raleigh, and then I announced that I would be retiring, Stella's going to be coming back to Charlotte to be our next police chief. And also another sense of pride with me that, hey, this is somebody that's an internal person who left, as the city manager said, we loaned her to Raleigh for a few years. So now that she's coming back, we're going to be in really good hands. So proud of that as well. But I'm going to shut up and answer some questions, but just know that I've been so proud to be your police chief for the last 5.5 years, and even more proud to have served our great city and county for the last 33 and a half. So thank you.
Thank you. Thank you, Chief. Now, Chief Jennings is
Chief Johnny Jennings is speaking there at the Sarah Stevenson Forum. Let's go ahead and take a break here on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. At 10:27, coming up on 10:30, I'm Jane Monreal. You're watching Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Well, we do know that CMPD Chief Johnny Jennings is getting ready to retire by the end of this year, and the new chief will start December 1st. Chief Estella Patterson, who is very familiar with the CMPD and starting her career in police enforcement through here. Chief Johnny Jennings right now at the Sarah Stevenson Forum, and it appears taking questions from community members attending today's forum. Let's listen in live on WCNC Plus.
Times it's been dealing with our young people today, and it scares me because what I've seen and what I've been jumping around in is the accountability end of our young people when they get in trouble and they do something that's taking them down the wrong path. And, it starts with the family. It starts with the family, and when I say family, not just immediate family, the entire community. And then at the same time, when we have to have something that holds them accountable for their actions, whether that's, I've talked about a juvenile detention center in Mecklenburg County. We're the largest county in the whole state. We don't have a juvenile detention facility, but it also doesn't mean that I'm saying put the kids and lock them up. I'm saying put them in a place where they can get programs and have an organization so that they can steer their lives in the right direction. And so we have to be able to do that. But there's so many kids that are not held accountable for their actions. We'll arrest a juvenile for 100 car break-ins. And we simply, when we say arrest them, that means we take them to their parents or their guardians and we give them right back and put them right back in the same environment with no accountability until they go to court. So I want to be able to change that, and hopefully that's going to be something we'll see in the future. I know there's some talks about a juvenile detention facility in Mecklenburg County, reopening ours here, and so hopefully that'll be something that we look at. That's actually the platform for Ricky Robbins, who's running for sheriff now too. So, but I know there's some talks that we're going to look at opening one up, hopefully.
All right, we have a question from Cedric.
Good morning. Thank you. Good morning. Thank you very much for being here.
Thank you.
Let me make a couple comments before my question. In 2016, I relocated back to Charlotte, came to the Hope Harvest Community Church, and ran into you there. We had a great conversation. You were a major at that time. You gave me this card.
Yes.
I've also followed you since then. I worked for the Hornets when they honored you. You walked right past me to receive your honor. I was glad to see you then. My question is, I now have a mentoring program at West Charlotte High School. Now that you're free on Friday.
When I retire, nothing's free.
I'm not done. Now that you're free on Friday, come anytime.
I love it.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you.
All right, he held on to the card. Right?
I don't even have one of those cards anymore. So
Major,
that's
major,
awesome.
man. And it's still white.
Yeah, that around. I look up to you. Thank you. That's very nice.
All right, we got a question from Rob.
Good morning, I'm over here. Keep it back.
All right.
Robert Collins, with Grand Thoughts. My question is this. What area do you feel that you did not have the most success in and would like to see Stella put energy into to make an advancement?
Yeah, that's an easy, quick one for me. It's staffing. No matter how hard we worked, we really tried to get our staffing levels up, because even when Kerr Putney was here as the chief, we added about 100 new positions. So when you hear of the vacancies that we have, that you add 100 of those that we were given but never filled, and we couldn't ask for more because we couldn't fill the ones that we had. And then after 2020, we started seeing less and less people applying and wanting to be police officers. Regardless of what you might hear, we didn't have a mass exodus like other cities saw with their police departments. We average about 40-something people leaving a year voluntarily outside of retirements and anything like that. During that time, we went up to about 70-something for a few years, and now we're really back to where we were, if not better. So, but the problem was in the early 90s, we hired a whole lot of police officers with the COPS grant, and I think we had about 125 new officers, and I was actually one of those. And there were people lined up out the door to apply to become police officers. And when all of those officers were starting to retire in around 2020, 2021, they were leaving during a very delicate time in law enforcement, so we didn't have a line of people out the door to fill those spots. And that's what made it difficult. So if I could go back and snap a finger and do one thing, it would be not only to be able to fill those positions that were vacant, but also to continue hiring, because we should have about 2,400 or 2,500 sworn police officers in Charlotte and Mecklenburg.
All right, Ms. Kim.
Hi, very nice to meet you.
You too.
I heard your speech earlier, and I can feel your passion, how much you love being a police, chief of police. And my question for you is that, Chief Jennings, since most of our city's leadership represents only one party, do you have any concern that this affects how we respond to rising crime rates? And would you consider revisiting your decision not to support funding for the bulletproof vest for officers? And then another question is, when I elected as mayor, if I ask you to come back, and then you will...
Only get one. Only get one. We'll put you back on the list. Wait a minute, I want to confirm that the answer I give, she has to accept it, right? Yeah. So, it is what it is. You know, I stay away from the political end of it. You know, we, as police and law enforcement, we have to remain bipartisan, neutral, because our job does not deal with the political pieces that are put in place. But we will work with anyone that's in political office to make our department better and to make our city safer. So you know, I've always had a great relationship. Now I can say this now because I'm leaving, but since 2020, there's been nothing that I have asked our city council for that they've said no, right? So, and I didn't want to tell them that because they would say, well, we got to say no to something. So, but we would, everything that I brought over there, they trusted me that if I say we need it, then they gave it to us. And I'm very proud of that now that I look back, because it allowed us to continue moving forward during the most challenging times in law enforcement. So,
Ms. Jackie.
Jackie Walton. First of all, we did not have the gentleman over there by the piano to introduce himself. So if we could circle back around later on for that.
Oh, we thought he got out clean. Okay.
Well, you know, we know who comes. Chief, I wanted to ask you, you indicated that you're at peace.
Yes.
And that's evident. But what steps did you take to get to this peaceful place? And all of this is around, you know, mental health.
Yes. Yeah, that's a great question. People are telling me, I don't even realize it, but they're saying, man, you're smiling a lot more. You know, you can just tell. And I said this to somebody the other day. It's almost like there were phases or steps. You know, when I announced that I was retiring, it was like a little bit of weight came off, and I felt really good when I announced. And then when they started the process for the next chief, a little bit more came off of me, and I felt, wow, this is getting real. When they announced the next chief, it just got to a whole nother level to where I felt like finally hey, job well done. And I felt like now we're trying to transition past the torch. I talk to Stella about every single day, maybe twice a day. And I'm really feeling that. And I told her, her concern was, I don't want to step on toes and start making decisions too early or saying things too early. I said, Stella, as far as I'm concerned, when they announced that you're going to be the next chief, it's your department. I'll hold it down. But as you're going to be coming in December 1st, she's coming in a few weeks, and she has a right to have things ready to go when she gets here. And that's my role right now. I want her to have the smoothest transition ever, that she comes in and it's like she never left. And so I'm trying to make sure that happens, but that's really when it hit me that, okay, this is done. I'm transitioning now and I'm passing the torch, and that's my role right now, and it feels really good. So, great question.
Mr. Lilly.
Okay, good morning, Chief.
Morning.
Lilly. We the people, we are great critics. We criticize all of our politicians, things that you all do, decisions you made.
Yeah.
If you were to separate yourself from where you're sitting now and that part comes over here, and you had to look back at yourself, are there any decisions or directives that you made that you would criticize yourself about?
Wow. Good question. It's hard. I think that when I made decisions, and I never felt like I made them in a vacuum. I have a great team around me that we have, and we discuss things. So a lot of times, there are many times that I would want to go one way, but we talk things through and I would see the other side of it. So I never felt like it was a dictatorship within CPD. However, I might have to get back with you. I can't really look at, I don't go back and think that, wow, if I had to do over again, I would do X instead of Y. Because you don't know, it's just so hard to say that, because what if that would have went another direction too, So it's easy to Monday morning quarterback, but you don't ever know what another decision, what results that would have held out to. But yeah, I don't think I want to ever live like that, because even when I talked earlier about always being the best that you can be, then you'll never have any regrets. That's kind of like how I felt approaching this job as a police department. I don't have any regrets, because I always put the utmost thought in everything that I wanted to do and have done. So I can Monday morning quarterback myself, but I'm not going to do that either. So
Sounds like you give yourself an A.
Well, that's not for me. I don't grade myself. So, but no, I appreciate that. That's a great question. I just a difficult one to answer. So thank you.
We got a question from one of our young captains. Please say your name before you get into your question.
Caleb. Sorry. I'm gonna just go without it.
No. We need it streaming. We got rules here.
Is it good right here?
Absolutely.
Okay. Caleb Steele from UNC Charlotte. So, what are some things you would like to see differently moving forward within the police department, and how can the younger generation support?
Wow, the younger generation support. One is to join us, right? I mean, we want to, and we talk about critics all the time. About you mentioned how people can be critical. Well, that's easy. That to me, that's the lazy way to do things. I can sit and well, heck, I criticize the Panthers all the time, but I would not be able to be their coach. I would not be able to play or anything like that. But it's an easy thing to do. But in this situation, with people, we need people to join to make us better. People to have those thoughts that, hey, there's room for improvement here, and to come in with positive attitudes and say, and rather than complain about the problem, I'm going to be a part of the solution. And that's not just with policing, that's with the community. You want to complain about crime, and I hear people talk about, crime's terrible in our neighborhood. Police, I don't ever see a police officer or wearing a police, and my response is, well, what exactly are you doing too? You can't expect a police officer to be on every single corner and to deal with every single criminal activity that's out there. So we all have to come together, and I think we've seen a lot of that since 2020, that responsibility is not simply put on police to resolve the crime issues. There are so many stakeholders involved, and I'm starting to see a lot of them come to the surface now, and that gives me a lot of pride and a lot of joy for the future of our department in our city. So.
Chief Jennings, thanks for your service.
Thank you.
If you want someone to join the police department, what's the starting pay?
So our starting pay is, I believe it's around $59,000 right now. But you also get a pay increase when you graduate the academy. So within 6 months, you're gonna get a bump up into the 60s. And then we have pay scales that a lot of talk about our pay that's been out there, but the truth of the matter is, in Charlotte, you're gonna go up to I think the top out pay is about $105,000. And then if you get promoted, how much do you guys make back there? I'm kidding. We get paid.
Chief Johnny Jennings answering questions from residents in the NODA area of Charlotte as he looks forward to his retirement from the CMPD. We look forward to seeing you back here in 2 minutes on Live Impact News on WCNC Plus. Right now, we are looking at a live ceremony taking place in the Veterans Day ceremony happening at the Arlington Cemetery. And President Trump is expected to be here any moment right now. But as we look, their ceremony just beginning, representing all branches on this Veterans Day. Also going to have some remarks, again, by President Trump being delivered later on as they are all in Arlington, Virginia. Beautiful sunny day there. Looks cool and crisp, though. As we look at the live pictures there, and it seems that their musicians and orchestra are playing, but we will take you back out to Charlotte and the Queen City with Chief Johnny Jennings still at the Sarah Stevenson Forum underway.
Out there, but then you see Charlotte is so robust in special events, and we have so many special events, off-duty jobs for security, we cannot fill them all. And back when I was an officer, I used to work off duty for $12 an hour. I think Ricky worked them for what, $6 an hour. So, but I used to work, and I felt guilty if I wasn't working. I would work a second shift, and I said, well, I have to find a job that I'm doing something in the morning so that I can make more money. And so if I'm sitting at home watching The Price is Right, I felt guilty because I felt like I wanted to be out there. It's a different era now. You know, I see jobs going out $100 an hour, and they're asking officers, we're trying to ask officers to work them. Officers are more inclined now, our younger generation, they want their time, which is a good thing for mental health purposes, but they want to do things with their families and to be at home a lot. And you heard me talk about the weight that was on my shoulders for working all the time. But the best answer to that is there's kind of a sweet spot financially that will get an officer to come out from their home and say, you know, yeah, I'll work this job. And so like we have a minimum off-duty pay of, I think it's $46 an hour. But it's hard to even say that knowing that I used to work for $12 an hour, that you said, well, 46 isn't enough to get me out of the house. So that's really, it's a good thing because it gives an opportunity for our officers to make even more money. But at the same time, I know it can be a financial strain for smaller organizations that don't want to pay that amount of money for security. So
that sweet spot is typically about $50. For a captain, 60, 65. And that's if you have a relationship. This Darnell.
Good morning. My name is Darnell Ivory. I may need you to help me to frame this question. But about 2 o'clock in the morning the other day, my dog gave out a robust bark. I looked at my Ring camera. There was a young man hurtling over my fence, checking my car door, another guy running down the street, a car with them, checking all the car doors on the street. Yeah. I called 911 to report it, of course, but they moved so fast and was so quick that by the time the police came, they were gone. Yeah. But my question is, and help me here, how does law enforcement prioritize the urgency of a 911 call when it's put through, not to ignore it, but to determine the time frame in which they might come? Yeah. And then are there any special restrictions or requirements in taking that 911 call, determining the urgency of the call? Yeah.
So we have what we call priority calls, and it's priority 1 through 5. That call right there should have been a priority 1 because the suspects were still on the scene. If you call and you're reporting a crime and the suspect's there, we want to do an immediate response. And if you call and say for example, hey, my car was broken into last night, I need a report. There's options to do that over the phone, but also that's not going to be a priority 1. That's going to be probably a priority 5, which could take longer to get an officer there, depending on how busy we are. So if there's someone injured, if there's a suspect still on the scene, different things that our dispatchers will kind of weigh out and make it a priority 1 through 5, and that determines when they're dispatched and when they get there. So listen,
We're wrapping up our coverage of Chief Johnny Jennings at the Sarah Stevenson Forum, live now taking place here in the NODA area. We need to take care of one last bit of business. We'll be right back. A live picture right now at the Tomb of the Unknown Soldier, as this is Veterans Day, and we honor those who served and who have passed serving, and all for our freedom to live and be in who we are in this country. Great United States of America. As we continue to salute those who serve for our freedom, I had the opportunity to speak to several veterans in Salisbury, a very strong community there full of veterans. One, Army veteran Howard Myrick, one of thousands apparently exposed to Agent Orange during his service, and he shares his story, his experience, and the challenge he's facing now. I'm going to play this interview for you. It is in a raw format, so we can play this for you here on WCNC Plus.
I was a radio man.
And tell me your experience with Agent Orange.
Well, I didn't know I had it until one of my friends called me and told me that all of us had some type of cancer. So I was still working at the time, and I went to the local VA here in Salisbury, and the first thing the lady asked me was about the lump on the left side of my neck. And I said I didn't know it was there. Well, she sent me for a scan. I had a tumor the size of a softball in the belly. The chest was the size of a baseball, and the one they took out in my neck was the size of a golf ball.
Wow. And how do you know, can you pinpoint it to any time during your service?
Not really. I thought they were spraying for mosquitoes a lot of times, but we would be in the foliage, and they would spray it, and then within a few days the ground would be bare. So that's my only recollection of that.
Okay. And then how about the VA services here in Salisbury? Were they able to help you out?
Yeah, I couldn't do without them. But I went down to Duke on my own. I took 6 rounds of R-CHOP. I don't remember what it's called, but the R stands for Rituxan. I took 6 rounds of that, and on the second round, I lost my voice, and so they cut it back 33% because it made me so sick I had to go to the emergency room, and then I was able to finish the rest of it. But I was so sick, I even lost the nails on my big toe, and yeah, that was that experience.
How are you today?
I'm doing fine. They can't cure it. At that time, they'll give me, with my age, 24 months to live. This February 26, 2026, will be 10 years. So I'm here for a reason.
Yes, you are.
Yeah.
How old are you now?
I turned 77 in August, and
is there anything that either the VA or the government has done since then? I mean, not talking about actually using that stuff, that you guys would be in it, but is there anything you think that they could have handled better, or that you're upset about the way it was handled?
They didn't know at the time. Monsanto was the company that made the Agent Orange, and I found out since there was about 6 different types of defoliants. And they had different names. It was like a yellow, pink, brown, or something, you know. But Agent Orange was the most potent. And my exposure was probably through water. I really don't know how I got it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
How is it to meet every Tuesday? What does it mean to you having a community like this to go to?
I couldn't do without it. When I left there, they told us, get on the plane, keep your mouth shut, get in civilian clothes, because I didn't run into any protesters at the airport. It was nighttime. But hold on just a second. I gotta wipe my eye. Yeah, my eyes water. Yeah. All right, ask your question now.
Yeah, so they just told you to get on a plane.
Yeah.
And
getting civilian clothes. Well, I was in my jungle fatigues. I didn't even have a paycheck. And I got to somewhere in California, and a bunch of us was wanting coffee. But when I left to go over there, coffee was 10 cents a cup. I got there, it was 75 cents a cup. But they told us if you go upstairs, there's a USO, coffee and donuts are free. So that's where we went.
So to meet here now every Tuesday and have some fellowship, it feels like that's important to you.
Yes. It doesn't matter what your rank was, whether you were a 4-star general or a private. The rank, it doesn't matter in here. We're all soldiers.
Howard Myrick, we thank you for sharing.